Back to the Middle East now. Israel and Hamas agreeing to a ceasefire after 11 days of fighting that killed hundreds of people, including at least 130 Hamas militants. That ceasefire happening about 12 hours ago. And joining us now for some reaction is the former chief of staff to the National Security Council and a CIA analyst, Fred Fleitz. Fred, good morning. Nice to see you again.
Good morning.
You changed up your background. Looks like you're in a hotel, Fred.
I'm in Naples, Florida right now.
Oh, all right. At the Ritz down there, enjoying life. I don't blame you. Yeah. Fred, it's quiet in Gaza today, thankfully. There's 7 hours ahead of us there, so it's the middle of the afternoon there right now. This is a very good sign, but do you expect this ceasefire to last?
Well, I hope it lasts. The trend is that there usually are several ceasefires. There's some questions about this. Many Israelis think that the attack on Hamas ended too soon. And Hamas is claiming that there were conditions on this ceasefire, although the Israelis deny this. They're claiming that there was a stipulation to stop the evictions from the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in Jerusalem, which played a role in the outbreak of hostilities, and that there may be some stipulation on Jewish access to the Temple Mount. If these things are true, it's going to be enormously controversial in Israel, and it's going to hurt Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yeah, Joe Biden praised the decision early yesterday evening. He kind of took credit for it, actually. Let's take a listen to what he had to say, and then we'll get some reaction, Fred.
I believe the Palestinians and Israelis equally deserve to live safely and securely and to enjoy equal measures of freedom, prosperity, and democracy. My administration will continue our quiet and relentless diplomacy toward that end. I believe we have a genuine opportunity to make progress, and I'm committed to working for it.
All right, Fred, your reaction to his comments?
These moral equivalency arguments are extremely unhelpful. He should be condemning the terrorist attacks by Hamas. Hamas started this. Israel defended itself, and that kind of stuff isn't helpful. Look, Israel wants to keep good relations with Biden. Biden had nothing to do with this. Biden has not even nominated an ambassador to Israel. Think about that.
Yeah, here we are over almost 5 months into his presidency. This is the fourth war that we've seen between Hamas, a terrorist organization, and Israel, and just over the last 10 years. But what do you make of some of the pro-Palestinian marches, some of them violent, that have happened here in the United States? We saw what happened with those people eating at a sushi restaurant the other night.
I'm very concerned that the global left and the American left is increasingly anti-Israel and anti-Semitic. And we're not just seeing these marches, we're seeing it in statements by members of Congress. And not just the squad, we're seeing it from Bernie Sanders and other members of Congress. I'm hoping that President Biden and Nancy Pelosi, who have a good record supporting Israel, they will be able to hold these people off. But I fear they are part of an old guard, and that the Democratic Party is going in a dangerously anti-Semitic direction.
Fred, you brought up a great point there. I think we should talk about that. Bernie Sanders, he's a Jewish senator from Vermont, and he literally wants to cut off funding to the Israeli military, which is especially important right now because they need to replenish the weaponry that they just used fighting Hamas, particularly when it comes to the Iron Dome defense system. How concerning is that?
It's very concerning, but the good thing is that most Democrats are not with him, at least right now. And Republicans are overwhelmingly supporting Israel and its efforts to defend itself. But this trend of the Democratic Party, I think there's momentum behind it, this anti-Israel, anti-Semitic trend. And I think all Americans have to speak out about this and say it's unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, why don't we cut off funding to Saudi Arabia or somebody like that when it comes to replenishing military stock? Doing it to our only Democratic ally in the Middle East seems to be an odd way to look at it, especially coming from Bernie Sanders. Yesterday, right here on Wake Up America, Axios contributor Barak Ravid said Israel should not be used as a political football by U.S. lawmakers. Listen.
Really just keep Israel outside of U.S. politics. Don't use us as, political football. We have enough problems. We don't need Democrats and Republicans fighting each other over issues that have nothing to do with us, about the last elections, about you name it, January 6th, whatever, okay? And using Israel in this debate. You want to talk about the Middle East and Israel? We can have a discussion when I guess both Republicans and Democrats will have a lot to say, but don't do it from the prism of the domestic political debate in the U.S.
Strong comments, Fred, and that got some play yesterday on the internet. What do you make of those remarks?
The U.S.-Israel relationship used to be a bipartisan matter.
Yeah.
Other than what I just said about this trend on the left, there's Democrats who are angry that Donald Trump had such a successful Israel policy. And I think that's actually leading Biden to roll back some of the achievements of the last administration. It's really reckless and stupid. And my hope is after what happened over the last 11 days, the Biden administration will reassess this approach.
All right, let's hope this ceasefire lasts through the weekend. Fred Fleitz, good to see you again. Enjoy your time down in Florida. We look forward to having you back on soon.
I will. Good to be here.
All right. Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.